you'll forget all the noble words you said when you get down to the bottom. Get down to the bottom.
Good people, welcome to the Planning Podcast. As you can see here, we have a special guest, Pro Bowler James Bradberry. Now, real quick, so, you're sitting amongst two athletes. As they like to say, I believe James is one of the top cornerbacks, in the league right now. If you've been watching the news, ESPN Sports Center, I think it's been unintentional, but they've excluded my name, Isaac Cooper. So, but look, hey, let's jump in. James, appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you having me, bro.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's start showing you some respect, bro.
Yeah, man. Look, man.
Start showing you some respect.
And I keep my cleats in the trunk just in case.
Just in case.
We need to exemplify some of the tap dancing capabilities I have on football fields. How about that?
Nah, how long does it take you to warm up now?
That's
at this point in your career.
We'll say a good solid 18 minutes.
18.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
smooth.
Yeah.
That's smooth. I need at least 30. At least 30.
Well, you operate at a high level, so and it makes sense. So let's do this. Tell the audience about James Bradberry. So we see you on Mondays, Sundays, Thursdays, right? Whenever there's a game. But let's talk about pre-NFL, pre-college. Let's talk about high school. What got you into athletics and some of the sports that you were able to play?
Well, I've always played sports, and when I was growing up, I went to the Boys and Girls Club. So we always played in the gym, played outside. So I was always into athletic activities.
Right.
So that sparked my interest in the football. And before I was playing football, I was playing soccer. I did that for 2 years, but I really wanted to play football. And so when I was at the Boys and Girls Club in Hueytown, I would get there after school.
Right.
My friends would then get picked up and get taken to football practice.
Right.
And I'm like, I want to go to football practice too.
That's right.
And we would pass them
right.
on my way home, like the Hueytown football field, because I stayed in Pleasant Grove. So we passed them, and I would always I want to go out there and play with them.
Right.
Because my friends were out there. So that was that's when I first got my interest into football. Being at the Boys and Girls Club and being around my friends and stuff.
So we got to shout out PG. I it's definitely mentioned Pleasant Grove. And, one thing that we see, and I if y'all don't know, I played soccer for about 10 years, Jamaican by blood. What I love seeing is that when we are able to witness some of our top professional athletes and hear more of their backstory about how different sports played into the current sport in which they dominate. So you played basketball, football, soccer. Tell us about some of the different sports that you played.
I played soccer, and football and basketball were my primary sports.
Okay.
But I also played a little soccer, a little baseball when I was early on. Baseball wasn't really my thing. It was too boring. Soccer, I couldn't play soccer and football at the same time, so I chose football.
That's right.
But basketball was my first love. And like you were saying, how does it help me with my main sport now? I'm a football player, so
right.
I play corner, and most of my movements, I'm going backwards. Of course, as a human, we naturally go forward, so
right.
we're used to that, being able to run forward and whatnot. But most people don't know how to really move backwards.
Yeah.
And playing basketball, I was primarily a defender, so I took pride in that.
Right.
As a defender in basketball, you primarily move at a backwards angle. It might not be directly backwards, but
right.
it's at an angle going backwards.
So you had a Dennis Rodman poster in your room?
I didn't really have too many posters,
okay.
but if I did have a poster, it'd probably be Dennis Rodman.
Right. That's right.
I was a defender. You was rebounder, dish it out, get it out to playmakers, and get it going.
That's a good point because one of the arguments that we've heard, is what's the hardest position to play. But before we even get into that, or even if we get into that, just the starting point of a defensive back having to backpedal, that being their initial movement, but also being comfortable backpedaling, right? And the unique crossover with basketball and football, specifically the defensive back position, cornerback specifically as well, is body control, right? And so there's, so much activity that happens before the play, during the play, but there's that one point which they call the high point, right? You got to go up and get the ball.
Sure.
Do you feel like some of the basketball exposure, not only backpedaling, but also body control as you go up and get the ball at a high point, did that help with some of the crossover with football?
For sure. I feel like just being able to, because in basketball, like when you're primarily a rebounder, you have to judge. You have to be able to. You remember in the documentary about Michael Jordan and the Bulls and whatnot. Rodman was in there talking about how like hit the goal this way, bum, 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 bum.
Right.
But if you play basketball and you as a rebounder, you understand what he's talking about because you have to anticipate which way the ball's gonna go based off the angle.
That's a good
Yada
point.
yada. Like
Right.
of course I didn't understand. I was thinking like that then.
Right.
I didn't really know how to explain it.
That's a good point.
But now I know how to explain it.
Right.
Because now I understand how I was thinking back then. So yeah, you got to be able to like anticipate and be able to judge the ball in the air and the flight of it.
Right.
You feel me?
Right.
When it's coming in from the quarterback. The same way when a shooter is shooting off the basketball. Or shooting and it's about to go towards the basketball goal. You got to judge the angle and where you anticipate it's going to go. And be able to, of course, jump and be athletic and go get it.
Yeah, you got that right. And there's that argument of, how many sports should an athlete play in high school? Of course, college is a bit limited. So do you feel like playing multiple sports growing up or even in high school, that was a good part of the equation of the James Bradberry we see today?
For sure. Yeah, one sport I wish I would have kept playing was baseball because that also helps with your hand-eye coordination.
Right.
Because as a defender, you have to be able to judge the flight of the ball.
Right.
And of course, as a hitter too, you have to be able to judge, be able to make quicker reaction.
Right.
Judge the flight of the ball when it's coming in from the pitcher. So I feel like I have better ball skills.
Right.
If I would have kept playing baseball, but I feel like I got pretty good ball skills now too.
Right.
So,
That's good. So we were able to hear about James Bradberry, high school multi-sport athlete. How are you in the classroom?
I was pretty good in the classroom. I think I graduated with a 3.8.
Okay.
Yeah, I was straight. My mom was really tough on me about my academics.
Yeah. Shout out, Mom. Shout out, Miss Bradberry.
Yeah. I gotta thank her for being on me so much about my academics because I don't think my GPA would have been as high.
Yeah.
Had she not.
Yeah.
I think it's just natural,
Man, come on. Yep.
As an athlete too, like you're not really.
I'm trying to play sports.
Trying to play sports, so it's tough to come home and do your work when you just spent 3 hours.
Right.
At the court,
right.
At the field,
at a high level, right? And I think what's one, anyone that says their GPA out loud, they did pretty good in the academics. Because someone said, "How was your academics?" I'm like, "I did all right."
I ain't gonna say as long as you graduate, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as long as you graduate, sure.
Yeah.
Because if you graduate, that means you're doing something right.
Right.
But you also want to take academics seriously because I feel like it helps you comprehend things as you get older.
Right.
Just your comprehending skills.
And I think one of the the way in which you represent yourself in different interviews and how you communicate, your body language, all of that, really exemplifies, the confidence and even word choice. And so it's a really good example for others. And so I think it's good for even our younger audience that when they see someone, hey, that's the Pro Bowler, top performer in the NFL, but he still, ensures that education is a very important aspect of their development. So that's a really good point. So before we get into our commonality, which is Samford University, both Bulldogs, tell us about what got you to the collegiate realm. So it sounds like you made a little noise in high school, where they was like, hey, let's holler at this young brother here. So tell us about that whole overall experience.
Looking back on it, a lot of people say I should have went to a bigger school just based off, I think, because I ended up in the league, honestly.
Right. That's a good observation.
I was a late bloomer when I was in high school. Like my junior year, I was primarily a safety. And then my sophomore year, I was primarily an offensive player.
Right.
So I didn't really play a whole lot of defense. And my senior year, I came on the scene. I played corner primarily, and I got 9 picks that year.
All right.
But most guys that go to the big schools, they already got their offers.
Yep.
By
That's
your
right.
sophomore, junior year. So
That's right.
My senior year, I made some noise. I had 9 picks.
Right.
And then during the basketball season, after my highlight tape went out, that's when schools started catching on to me. Chattanooga, Samford, UAB, Tennessee State. I know Clemson that came to the school one time, but they didn't offer me.
Yeah. That was a good moment, though. Oh, Clemson's here. Can we get James Bradberry to come down to the field house?
Man, you know what? Looking back on it, because nowadays you got social media.
Yep.
And guys always posting every offer they get.
On Twitter.
Every offer.
Boom.
It's even guys that even lie about their offers.
Right.
They even got their offers.
Right.
Or that doesn't have an offer,
Right.
You don't really have an offer until you get that sheet of paper from that school.
It's official.
It's official.
Right.
That's
a bar. Hopefully y'all caught that. Like, everybody gets letters, but it's the handwritten ones that are important.
And everybody get offers, but it's them.
It gotta be official.
Them send them that FedEx in. They send us official. They send that FedEx in.
That's right. So we had other schools that caught on late bloomer, which that makes sense because usually a lot of the the bigger schools, they make their decision by the time they're juniors or so, right? They try to lock them in pretty early. So attention by smaller schools, but it seems like that did not impact your mindset when you looked at your the future aspirations you had playing professionally. So tell us about the initial school before you went into Samford and also about that transition.
Yeah, so initially I went to Arkansas State, and like I said, when I was a senior in high school, I primarily played corner. That's the position I felt more comfortable. That was my primary position.
Right.
So that's the position I felt comfortable at. So when Arkansas State was recruiting me, they wanted me to play safety. And at the time, of course, like most high school athletes, they was worried about going D1.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go D1,
Yep.
So I went to Arkansas State.
Right.
Went up there. They had me at safety from day one. I didn't even...
Yeah.
Had me at safety that first summer. It was cool. I was under Coach Hugh Freeze, and he was a good coach. Got a lot of respect for him. And we actually won the conference title that year.
That's what's up. Shout out Coach Freeze.
And they kept winning after I left.
Right.
So that was one of the decisions that when he was at a point in transitioning from Arkansas State to Ole Miss after that semester because we had done so well. So I remember I was in the meetings and I said, if Coach Freeze leaving, I'm leaving. Because he recruited me and I don't want to be here for nobody else. So if he leave, I'm leaving.
I'm gone.
We had a team meeting like at 7 p.m. after the season had ended.
Right.
They called us up there. They said, Coach Freeze leaving. That's my sign to do.
Yeah.
That's my sign to do.
That's good. We're looking at, again, a Pro Bowler currently. So it definitely led to, we'll say, some great results. So transitioning to Birmingham, Alabama, good old Samford University, go Bulldogs. Which I like to call DBU because as I mentioned earlier, we'll speak with Skip and Shannon to make sure all of the charts and Mel Kuiper as well that reflects my athletic ability at cornerback. But
you gotta send your film in.
Yeah, I'm gonna show them the warm up too.
You gotta talk to Rocky.
Yeah,
you gotta talk to Rocky.
Shout out Rocky.
I need to hit up Rocky.
Likewise. So we have your transition now to Birmingham, and now, we see James Bradberry, and we see 2 letters next to his name, CB, cornerback.
For sure.
So you're at a position in which you are comfortable, you're confident, of course the skill set is there. Tell us about how Samford was, a good. Well, there's 2 things I want to hear about Samford. Samford's a D1 AA school, FCS,
D1
right?
Sure.
Right. So smaller university. So typically one would assume that there isn't a lot of eyes on a university based off of the size and the competition. So I want to hear how your thoughts of Samford prior to you coming to Samford. Like, okay, I'm going to a smaller school. Coach Sullivan, Pat Sullivan, shout out Coach Sullivan, rest in peace. and I'm playing cornerback, which I want to play, is this going to impact my ability to go to the league? Tell us a little bit more about your thinking going to a D1AA school.
Yeah, so going back to like me being a high schooler, I always wanted to play D1AA, right? That was the reason why I went to Arkansas State. I got to Arkansas State, and we won a lot of football games. I don't remember our record,
right?
But I remember just having that feeling like there is no difference between this school and Samford,
right?
A school that I thought about going to go play corner, you know. And for me, like I was thinking at the time, like I could go play cornerback in the NFL because that's around the time Richard Sherman was starting to build his name up. He was a big corner and whatnot, and he was press man.
Right.
That's what I wanted to do.
Right.
So he gave me a lot of confidence in making a decision to go from Arkansas State to Samford. And also thought about, like, at least I'm going to get my degree. That's the main thing.
That's good. That's good.
I'm going to get my degree.
Right.
And it's going to be from a school that's it's highly recommended from most people.
You got that right. I believe Samford was ranked by Forbes the #1 university, I believe, in the state of Alabama. And it's pretty high up across the country. So there's some thoroughbreds that came up out of there for sure.
I don't keep up with the accolades, but I know it's a very, very good school. You know, and I feel like the degree that you get there, no matter what you get a degree in, it's highly respected.
You got that right.
So that was one of the reasons why I was cool with coming to Samford.
Right.
And then Coach Shade, he was the coach there. Shout out to Coach Shade.
Yeah, shout out Coach Shade.
You know, that's what he hit you.
That's right.
But yeah, I kept in contact with him a little bit, you know, throughout my tenure at Arkansas State. So he was also played a factor in me. He played a factor in me coming to Samford.
Right.
And while I was at Samford, you know, man, we had a lot of athletes there.
Man,
that's one thing that jumped off the board.
Yeah.
When I got there, because I was there, we had Jaquaski Tart, and we had Quas in our secondary. He got drafted. He was the year before me. He got drafted higher than me.
Yeah, second
and
round.
Me and him played together in the same secondary. So, and he had Mike Pierce.
Right.
And then when I first got there, we had Nick Williams, of course.
Yep.
Like he big as any D1 single A defensive tackle.
That's a semi truck with arms and legs ultimately.
Yeah, JT.
Yep. Another semi truck, you know, that take different fuel.
So when I got there, like I felt like the talent was there.
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't always put it together.
Right. That's right.
But the talent was there.
That's
for
right.
Sure.
That's right. That's a unique group. Shout out to my signing class. I know JT, Big Nick, we were both in the same signing class. Corey White, and just even as you mentioned, Blue, the different quality of athletes at the different positions really just gave the all right, it's some ball players over here as well, right? Sure. So prior to you getting drafted, there was this development and evolution of, all right, this is happening, right? Like there's usually a moment to where you stop for a second, someone taps you on the shoulder and say I think you may be able to go to the next level. When was that moment for you at Samford?
At Samford, that's a tough question. At Samford, I don't know. It was kind of up and down, you know, because I always compared myself to other corners that were doing well across the Southern Conference and across the FCS.
Right.
So I would see guys they would get drafted like B.W. Webb. Out of William and Mary.
Yep.
Tremaine Johnson, he got drafted high. Yep. Demetrius McCray out of App State.
Right.
So I would try to compare myself to those type of guys, like they were similar in body type, except for B.W. Webb.
Right.
So I knew, like the biggest thing for FCS guys is running fast. You know, that's for small school guys in general. They want to see, can you run fast?
Right.
So I knew. I didn't really see it until I got to the combine and I ran that 4.46, you know.
And that's, you know, and when we think about even historically the size of cornerbacks, right? It's usually like 5'10", 5'11", you know, even 5'9", to be able to, because again, historically it would be, larger cornerbacks may not have as much fluid hips as those that are a little bit more compact, right? And so, as you mentioned, Richard Sherman is someone that definitely upgraded the perspective of the type of profile of cornerbacks, the larger cornerbacks, bigger. And even as you mentioned, even coming out of a FCS school, there's certain skill sets you want to exemplify, but hey, boy, you better be coming out. You got to be blazing, right? You got to show some speed. So go ahead.
But while I was at Samford too, like I didn't really have a whole lot of turnovers. Like every year, I averaged 2 picks a year. I had 2 picks a year, so I wasn't really creating a whole lot of turnovers.
Yep.
But people were kind of like just staying away from my side because most of the time I was pressed up over there and whatnot. And I think I had a lot of pass breakups, but they just wouldn't come to my side most of the time.
Right.
So
that's tough. I just mentioned it in another podcast where Deion Sanders says, "Look, y'all can't tell me I weren't the baddest man on the planet. You wouldn't throw to my side on first down. You wouldn't throw to my side on second down. You wouldn't throw to my side on third down. And when I went on punt return, you'll kick it the other way." Yeah. So from a stats percentage, like you said, you're avoiding me because I'm a threat. But at the end of the day, when you look at the stats, it's not reflecting a lot of interceptions because they know better.
Because I made third team All-American my last year there, and before then I wasn't on any of the All-American teams.
Right.
So that's why it was hard for me to say I'm finna go to the league.
So there was still that uncertainty, which of course, that fuels the dog, right, in the overall process, right? So then you get the invite to say, "Hey, we want you to come to the combine."
I knew I had to run a good 40.
Yeah.
I didn't care about any other drill, but
the
40.
Light it up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I feel like my drills at the combine, they weren't up to par with what I would have wanted from a technique standpoint.
Right.
But I ran a fast 40.
Yeah.
But I knew I had the combine to kind of make up for my drills and stuff.
Yeah. No, that I remember seeing when the numbers went up. I was like, all right, well, we can go ahead and pack up the suitcase and keep it moving. So yeah, shout out to you on that. That was great work. Then of course the Senior Bowl, that was another value add for them to be able to see you live and operate. And then of course you get drafted second round, right, by the Carolina Panthers. A cool thing for me that I just keep with the overall story is that I was able to witness one of the workouts, with the Carolina Panthers. Tell us how. Not even a workout. Tell us one of your favorite memories about working with the Panthers and playing there.
Yeah, so one of my favorite memories from working out with the Panthers. So my coach at the time, when I got drafted there, and he was also my D coordinator my second year, he worked me out for one of my individual pro days. Yeah. And throughout the combine, throughout the whole pro day that we had, individual pro day, he was pushing me,
Right.
He was, telling me to get here, get there. He wanted to see. I feel like he wants to see you. He wanted to see me in distress throughout my drills, just to really see how good someone's footwork is. You can tempo drills.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And you can kind of get by with saying I got good feet just because you tempo the drill.
Right.
But if you're really pushing somebody,
right.
Run here, break left,
right,
or lateral stuff, and then also we did a lot of press drills.
Yep.
And he told me to hit him in his chest, to jab him. So I was putting power behind my hits.
So for those that are watching, when you play cornerback, there is a time in which the proximity between the wide receiver and the defensive back is very close. And part of the strategy is to try to throw off their ability to run whatever route they're looking to run. And so what James was just sharing is that, all right, part of the training before they made their decision on who they wanted to pick, hey, well, I want to see what that looks like. And you bump and run, right? And so,
hands on.
And so sometimes one would just, all right, coach, let me just shoot my hands. But we throwing them things.
Throwing them, And I had also did. So when I went to the combine, I feel like I was kind of heavy. So what some of the workouts I did when I came home before the pro day was doing like MMA, doing stuff like that.
Wow.
Because that was a lot of cardio that would get my weight down.
Right.
The extra weight that I needed to drop. So it was just kind of natural, just throw them strikes.
That's good. So we talked about pre-college, how basketball, soccer, and the different sports, even baseball, played a role in the athletic development. And now even when we're, prior to training for the league or making it to the NFL, now we've been able to tie in MMA on some of the combat sport training, but also cardio, right?
Oh, yeah.
So so that was a moment, right? That was a moment where you were shooting hands, showing Coach Bump and Run, this is the technique, this is how I strike, and that was a memorable moment.
Because I wanted to impress them. So
that's good.
I feel like that was an opportunity for me to impress them. So
that's good.
That's what I do. No,
that's right. That's right. Well, and that, just being a technician at that, as you mentioned, even at the bump and run level, I appreciate that because, you think about times in which it may be before the game to where you're doing, you just got helmets on and they're running through a little sample. I forgot who it was that I was watching. It may have been Revis or whoever. And they said, no, they ain't going to catch it there neither, Coach. I know this walkthroughs. I'm knocking them down too. And so it just exemplifies the standard in which you want to represent, regardless of, what we doing. And then, of course, it paid well because we went second round and they was like, look, we need to go get that, brother.
Yeah.
And that's good. So tell us about this. Now, one thing we see, if we follow you on social media, Instagram, tweet a little bit, we may see hashtag Brad B love the kids or something like that. Tell us about some of your community work and what you got going on.
So some of my future community work that I got going on, I know May 19th, that's the day for it right now. It's subject to change, but it's on a Wednesday. The title for it is Youth for Unity. It's at the Boys and Girls Club. So what my whole goal for that event is pretty much to bring local law enforcement, to the local community, especially the youth, and kind of build a bridge between the two and just form lines of communication to where we can be comfortable in this world between the two. Because there's a lot of conflict right now between the community and the law enforcement.
Right.
So you just want to I just want to bring, kind of relax people.
Yeah.
And then give them an opportunity to ask questions and get answers they might not know the questions to, or the answers to.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's good, bro. And even as you mentioned, today's climate, and what we're able to see on camera, what we're able to see off camera, but there is a tension within a community, and so with the influence you have and the respect that you have in a community to be able to bring two parties together to say, hey, look, we are the community, right? Yeah. And we have to be unified to be able to represent that. So I respect that for sure. So that's good, man.
Like it was only right, And once a year I try to do host something to where for the community. Right. I feel like I can help the community. Right. And I haven't been able to do my book bag drive just with COVID in the past, but now the COVID is relaxed. This is one of the events that I want to do just with recent activity that's been going on in America.
That's good. That's good, brother. Hey, look, Pro Bowler on the field, Pro Bowler off the field. That's good. That's good. Hall of Famer Deion Sanders says, "If you look good, you play good." Here at the Planning Podcast, we believe that proper money management is important, and we also know that being financially fit represents a way in which you live. Now, just by listening to this podcast, you are part of the movement. And one of the most critical aspects of this is the way in which we spell planning. The A is replaced with the delta sign. And those that are familiar with mathematics, delta represents change. A very consistent theme that we noticed that regardless of the objective, big or small, if you want any change to occur for the better, you're going to have to start planning. Be sure to check out our merchandise at www.stayplanning.com, STAYPLANNING. We'll see you there. All right, so you had a good experience at the Panthers. Great turnout in regards to performance. Now you've transitioned to New York. Well, not necessarily New York, but ultimately you're at the New York Giants.
The New York Giants.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, excuse me, the New York Giants. Hey, fans.
We're in New Jersey, but we're the New York Giants.
Right. Tie me up, fans. So and then you make Pro Bowl, right? Like that's a major accomplishment. Tell us about some of your expectations prior to the season, and do you feel like the full representation of the season exemplified what you intended?
So my expectations going up there, were really like low as far as I didn't really have any.
Yeah.
Because honestly, when I was in school, I had got adjusted to that routine, so I was adjusted to whatever was going on at that school. So as college was ending, I was transitioning, going into the league, and I had got into a routine, and I was used to whatever I was doing, and the same thing with Carolina.
Right.
So going to New York was like really different, as far, especially too, from like going from school to Carolina was way different. Going from Carolina to New York was way different because it was a different coaching staff. I was also, expectations were higher for me when I was in New York because it's a bigger market.
Right.
More TV games, and also I get paid more now. So
that does help.
Guys look at me to make plays, and we had a younger team. So I didn't really know what to expect, and then we had COVID that hit, so I didn't really get a chance to go up there and have OTAs and meet any of the guys, be around them, just get a feel for them.
That's a big deal. That's actually that's probably, even thinking about the, even when students become college students, all right, I got to move to a different city. You want to meet your classmates, or even just going to playing collegiate ball. Not being able to build that initial camaraderie just based off of proximity, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. So now it's a new team, new city, and you're building the. I'll just say not only your experience, but some of the relationships virtually.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, and then I don't really talk a lot, so it was.
Yeah.
And then especially being on the computer in Zoom, it's like, let's say 30 defensive guys in one meeting. It's hard to listen to everybody talking at the same time. Like you can't really. I can't have a conversation with Ike or Leo or Pep on Zoom because it's difficult to hear everybody. And everybody, you gotta wait. You gotta pause for hear them talk. Hear that guy talk. So I would just be quiet most of the time on Zoom. And that's how it was for a lot of guys because we had a new coaching staff too.
Wow.
So guys on Zoom were like, they was really quiet. It's a little bit more relaxed now though because we know each other.
Of course. But that is definitely, corporations across the globe are going through this. Organizations across the globe are going through it. Like, all right, how do we still have the cohesiveness of a team and of an organization, but not be next to each other, right? And so and that actually suppresses the ability for certain ideas, comments, or questions to be able to be exchanged or even entertained because of the, like you said, we got 30 people on the call, 50 people on the call, 12, and so unless we do something afterwards, it will be tough to do that. So within COVID, navigating just like everyone else, but still also having the responsibility to train and ensure you're in a good shape. And you came in making noise pretty early.
Yeah, it was a successful season for me overall. That first game we played Pittsburgh, I gave up 2 touchdowns.
Okay. Yeah.
We gave 2 touchdowns, and I knew from that point on, like, I gotta do something.
Yeah.
And we kind of switched the defense around a little bit too. We started doing some new things.
Right.
That kind of fit my playing style. And after that, I just put myself in the best position to make plays.
Yeah.
And then when the opportunity came, I went and made a play.
Right. Yeah, I have a few colleagues that are Giants fans, and they love Brad B. They love 2-4, and so it's fun to see the how you've been able to evolve in the league, and is two, what probably most important for me is how you've been able to be an example for others that want to go to the league on how you not only manage yourself off the field, but also how you've been able to dominate on the field. Tell us, and one thing, we got a few more points before we finish up. Of course, this is the Planning Podcast. One of the unique aspects about the Planning Podcast is how we spell planning. So I got my hat to the back, but planning is ultimately PL delta sign NNING. So we replaced the A and put a delta sign, and in mathematics, delta represents change. And so we feel like anything that is significant in your life and you wanted to change, the foundation of that is through planning. Give us an example on how planning has been effective for you in some of the decisions or some of the successes that you've been able to accomplish thus far?
Like when I was in school, and even like my first 2 or 3 years in the league, I was strictly football. You know, of course, I had my plan. It was a strict routine to go into class. Like, I knew what time I had to be at class on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, what classes I had. So it was a routine that I had got together. So that was my planning. You know, I let the school, I let the coaching staff do my planning for me. I just showed up. But now that I have an opportunity to create more, you know, wealth, not only for myself, but the people around me. And I also give back to the community more. I try to plan ahead more. I use a calendar now. I write down
that's good.
Like what I got going on and stuff. And I try to just learn different ways how I can make my money work for me. Just having conversations with guys like you. And of course I got other mentors and stuff that I talk to and lean to when it comes to business. I feel like I'm in the learning stage right now.
That's good.
In my planning process, just trying to learn as much as I can.
That's good. Is there any recommendations for any? Now again, the draft is actually going on right now, so it's unique. We got this interview going. So let's say we got guys that's, you know, they're about to get drafted. All right, fellas. Here is 1, 2, or even 3 money tips that you should either have top of mind or recommendations that you would have for them.
Yeah, so it all depends on like your status in the league, honestly, and how you enter the league. You know, if you're a high draft pick, of course you got a little bit more money to work with.
We like to call that discretionary dollars.
Yeah, so just depends on what you're working with. For me, even had I been a low pick or a high pick, you know, I feel like I would have saved my money. I was a high pick, but I was saving my money, you know. That's one thing my mom taught me growing up. I was kind of a penny pincher. I guess, in other words, cheap too. You know, I was frugal. But that was what I was worried about, was saving. So I say one thing is just saving my dollars, saving your dollars, you know.
That's good.
Number 2, I would say find mentors. You know, mainly probably older guys that are older than you. Have some knowledge on money. You know, link up with them. Whether you gotta hire them or not, you know, it's good to have that knowledge there. I know. I didn't want to do that early on in my career because I didn't want to spend that money. But you know, it's important to have, because I went to school for sports administration. I didn't go to school for finance and for accounting. And I didn't learn about money. You know, I'm learning it now. So put yourself around those guys that know about that stuff. And number 3, budget, man.
Yeah, you better
budget,
say it. Yes, sir. That's right.
Like I said, everybody, they enter the league differently.
That's
everybody has a different amount of money that they have at their disposal. So learn how much you got. Figure out how much you want to save. Play with the rest. You know, I'm not saying don't spend none of it, but have fun, but make sure you save some of it.
That's good. That's so good. And again, you know, fellas, even young ladies, young queens that are listening to this, you know, hopefully the major takeaways that you got from that was, of course, save. Ensure that you have people you trust that you can get information from. And then third, man, you got a budget, right? We got to make sure we set aside a budget. So this comes to the conclusion of today's podcast. We are super excited to have today's guest, James Bradberry. Again, Pro Bowler James Bradberry. Appreciate you coming through, brother, once again.
Appreciate you having me.
Make sure y'all follow Brad B. How can we follow you?
Man, I'm on Instagram and on Twitter. BRADB_21.
Okay.
You know what? It might be 24 now.
Well,
my agent made me change it because for the longest I had it as Brad B_21. But I had to change it to 24. So
how about this? Put James Bradberry in the one with the blue check. Come
on.
Follow that. Follow my guy. There's a lot of good things here. Again, super excited. Today has been just even such a blessing for us to be able to have this moment. So, of course, make sure you subscribe, stay tuned, and y'all already know, stay planted. The bottom,